Depth Chart Podcast. It's Tuesday, Election Day. I'm joined by Nick Roush in Louisville. Nick, how you doing? I know you're adjusting to 2 kids instead of 1.
Yeah,
With Frank's addition. So, are you holding up, bro?
we're holding up. We have some nights that are a little bit sleepier than others. Big fan of 6:30 basketball games though, because then we get bedtime. I get a good first half in before it's bedtime and all that stuff. But yeah, we're figuring it out as we go. Drinking a lot of Java, so
Yeah.
really enjoying the black coffee and the odd hours of sleep. But yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting. It's still nice out. Fall. Freddie, Thanksgiving is like right around the corner.
I know. I mean, October just flew by, seems like, and now we're days into November. Kentucky 6-3.
Weeks into the playoffs, like there's
Yeah.
3 home Kentucky football games yet. Like I mean, it's just football season. It goes by too quick.
I was at Spencer County Friday night, Nick, and it was 74 degrees, 75 degrees.
So awesome.
In a November
last year,
playoff.
I was complaining because it went from like summer to winter just like that. Well, this has been like an extended fall.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love
Cats are 6-3, Nick. Not exactly where we thought that this team would be. I had 8-4 before the season. That's still in play, but Kentucky's got Vanderbilt on Saturday, a team they should beat, right? I mean, Vanderbilt has improved under Clark Lee. I will give the Commodores that, but this is a team that Kentucky should beat. I think this game, Nick, is in a tricky spot, right? It's after Missouri, a very physical football game.
Mm-hmm.
You got a lot of players banged up. Mark Stoops said yesterday, 95% of his team is banged up. And when asked about Will Levis, and we can all estimate Will Levis, is he 75%, is he whatever. But after that physical Missouri game and before Georgia, this is the Vanderbilt game is in a funny spot to me because you don't want to look past anybody because this Kentucky team this year has won ugly, and I think that in a perfect case scenario you would want to get a lead and rest some players, but Kentucky's not gotten out to leads like that where they could rest players. So this game is tricky to me due to the fact of where it's located, when it's located on the schedule, after Missouri, before Georgia.
Yeah, and Vanderbilt reminds me of, maybe 2014 Kentucky football where they're actually starting to get some players, but you can't win on the SEC in the SEC just on a couple players, right? Like
Right.
it takes 2 and 3 deep where they're pretty banged up right now. We might not see quarterback AJ Swan this Saturday. Could be Mike Wright, who can give you some problems by breaking contain. And one positive sign I saw from the UK defense on Saturday, they got aggressive. They really got after Brady Cook.
Yeah.
They're still not getting us home as much as I'd like. I mean, Andrew Phillips was this close to a sack. You had a couple different moments where they're flushing him from the pocket, but they're not really finishing the play. You flush Mike Wright from the pocket. That's kind of what he wants. You almost want to just kind of contain him in there. You don't have to give him necessarily the Anthony Richardson treatment, but that is something to keep an eye on this Saturday. You have to be disciplined in your rush lanes, which could be good practice for that season finale if Malik Cunningham is in fact healthy and ready to go. So really, I don't think we need to spend a lot of time talking Vanderbilt football because this is more about Kentucky, and I was happy, like you said, Freddie. They got up for that Missouri game, but do they got it in them to get up for this one? Because it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. There's no doubt about it. It's going to be cold. It's going to be nasty. Outside 41 degree nooner, probably gray skies over Kroger Field. Can you push yourself to get up with a big game against Georgia and then a rivalry game looming against Louisville the following week?
Yeah, I mean, I could see this going 2 different ways. I could see Kentucky sleeping through this one. It's going to be cold, the first cold game of the year, really. If the weather holds up, heck, with Kentucky weather, it could be 84 and sunny. a noon kickoff against the opponent that you should win. I could see it that way. The other way I could see it is the offense got a little momentum at Missouri. And I know the give and take there is, Kentucky scored 21 points. How is that good? Well, that's the most touchdowns an SEC opponent has scored against Missouri. It's 3, right? So I think Kentucky found some things offensively. The tempo was nice. But like we said on every platform you and I have been on, I think Will Levis' lack of mobility and not being able to run the football really limits the play sheet and how Kentucky can attack opposing defenses. So, and Vanderbilt is awful against the pass. I mean, but so was Tennessee. But Vanderbilt doesn't have those guys, all those guys that can get after the quarterback. So I could also see this is a game that, a lot of factors going on that Kentucky could open it up, get Chris Rodriguez his, and let Will Levis eat because, with the draft coming up and Will sacrificing so much, he needs a good stat game, for his numbers and to help him out. And also, towards the end of the season, there's some pass catchers that need to get the football in their hands.
Yeah, we got to make those guys happy.
You got to you got to make those, especially the young guys.
Yeah,
Barryon Brown, Dane Key. You got to get them some touches and catches this week. Well, I think that's mandatory.
I don't know where we were talking a week ago, Freddie, but it was like, what are some of the changes you'd make? One of them was just let Will operate out of shotgun. They did that. That somebody was counting maybe like 21 of their first 30 snaps were out of shotgun, which is a stark contrast from what we typically see. The other thing you saw more of, too, that I wanted to see almost every first down was just throwing it on first down. Yeah. They were really successful throwing the football on first down and not just throwing it underneath either. Yeah. Actually going down and attacking the defense in the intermediate. So I really – like you said, Freddie, this is a great moment to kind of build some momentum, score some points, not threshold. Just get more than 31. You haven't that's your season high. Like your offense should be better than this. Get 35, 42, 45 points against this Vanderbilt team. I know that the games against the Commodores don't always in cruise control for Mark Stoops, but no matter what the defense does, I just want to see this offense continue to build a little bit of momentum to get us feeling better for these final 2 big games of the season.
Well, a few years back, Kentucky did jump out to a pretty good lead, and Vanderbilt came back, and it took an onside kick recovery to win the game, if you'll remember that. So this game has odd history. Let's talk a little bit about why Will Levis was in the shotgun, Nick. As a quarterback, when you're under center, and I'm not up on it. I don't know which toe is hurt for Will. Is it right toe, left toe, whatever? But when you're under center, you have to put a lot of torque on the balls of your feet, on your toes, to, one, get away from the center and the line of scrimmage because there's pulling guards and all kinds of trash in there. But two is to get away from the line of scrimmage, whether it's in a handoff or play action. Kentucky's not running bootlegs. I mean, it just can't with Will's health. So I think that's one of the reasons that Scangarello made the adjustment to go more shotgun. Two is, I keep saying it, like I said in the preseason, this team would go as far as the tackles take them. There was a lot of pressure off the edge, and with Will in the shotgun, he can get back there and see better. With all those adjustments, though, Missouri, 6 quarterback sacks, 12 tackles for loss. Kentucky is just horrendous in both of those categories for the season.
Yeah, they kind of are what they are at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we keep saying they need to do this and they need to do that. This is the 10th, this is 10th game of the year, right? So, kind of who you are is what you are. Something that piqued my interest yesterday on Monday was name, image, and likeness. Nick, I can't help to be so. My viewpoint is when I see a recruit sign or I see a transfer, the first thing that comes to my mind is that's all NIL stuff. I mean, it's just that important, and I think Mark Stoops tried to emphasize that yesterday in his press conference just by a few sentences. But decisions are being made by recruits. Decisions are being made by transfers. based
Decisions are
solely
being
on NIL.
made by athletic directors. John Cohen left Mississippi State in large part
Yeah.
because Auburn's going to be able to attract more talent because they have their NIL efforts together. They got $13 million sitting in a
Yeah.
satchel.
Which leads me to my point. I think December is going to be the most chaotic December in the history of college football. I think you're going to see mass deflections all over the country by players. But let's take a deeper look into this, Nick, and I'd ask you if my theory has any validity or not. I think it's also going to impact coaches. We live in a day where certain players make more than their position coaches. Certain players make more than their coordinators.
It's true, though.
So head coaches are going to be put in very tricky situations where a star player making $2 million a year doesn't like his position coach who's making $600,000 a year. Who is more valuable to that organization? Which coordinator is more valuable? Is a coordinator more valuable than star players, or is the star players more valuable than the coordinator? So I think not only are you going to see player movement in December, you're going to see a lot of coaching movement in December also, because this is the first real year or first December that everything is all together, right?
Well,
Name, image, and likeness, transfer. It's going to be crazy.
And people kind of have their efforts organized a little bit better now. It's not just brand new and like we had in the first few years. And it's probably going to be the last time we have the early December signing period. They've already proposed making changes to that to just change the college football calendar in general, but those won't happen until next spring. So the particularly the few weeks between Thanksgiving and December 21st, start of the early signing period, that's when things are going to get really wacky. They're going to get crazy. And it's hard to forecast exactly what it's going to be, too, because there hasn't been a whole lot of buzz on the Kentucky football recruiting front. There's been Mark Stoops' name has been mentioned a lot in that Auburn job. Assistant coaches changing as well. Like there's a it's hard to tell what exactly is going to happen, but I'm 100% with you, Freddie. It is going to get crazy. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, and listen, I appreciate the power that players have these days. I mean, that's a lot. I mean, the players have more input now than they ever have in the history of college football, ever. And I think that's wonderful. And they're getting paid. They're being compensated for what they do. And I think it's great. But it is going to lead to this December being – it's going to be a lot of work for us, which is fun because we got to track it all. But it's going to lead to chaos because you're going to see – I mean, not just Kentucky, but across the country, a lot of movement is getting ready to happen. And it's going to be interesting to see how that goes, Nick. And I hope Kentucky comes out good on it. Let's you're right. We don't need to spend 30 minutes on Vanderbilt. It is what it is. Clark Lee, in year 2, Vanderbilt's averaging 27 points a game, which isn't bad. But defensively, last in the SEC, going up 470 yards a game. Last in pass defense, 318 yards per game. Just a lot of opportunity for Kentucky. Vanderbilt is what they are, and we'll let you get into that later with pregame stuff. But let's look at the season in total. Nick was first with the offense. 341 yards total offense per game. That's last in the SEC. Obviously, not a lot of production there. Red zone touchdown after the performance against Missouri's up to 60%. That number was down, but when you go 3 for 3, that really helps you. But a couple of two other statistical categories really concern me. That's tackles for loss allowed, which is 65, and sacks allowed, which is 35. That's 128th in the nation. So that I think that really tells the story of the season, is all the havoc that defenses have been able to produce against Kentucky. It may not factor against Vanderbilt, but it's certainly going to factor in the last 2 games of the year against Georgia and a very aggressive Louisville defense. Is there anything Kentucky can do to scale back the allowed quarterback sacks and allowed tackles for loss. Nick Roush.
You are what you are right now. Kentucky's letting those guys get absolutely blown up. What I would like to see in this Vanderbilt game, other players, right? We know the ones that are up front, that first five, they can't handle a twist, a stunt. Maybe the other guys can. I know they're seeing Keontae Goodwin in practice. They're seeing DeAndre Buford in practice, so they would know better. But here's your chance to try something new. Here's your chance to try something different to see if it produces another result. Maybe that's just getting some fresh blood in there can help you. I mean, it's not going to – I think it would be a minimal advantage at this point. You kind of are what you are, but why not? Why not at least give the other guys a shot at this point in the season? I think that's what you hope this Vanderbilt game can be used for. Not only to make those playmakers happy, but give the other guys a shot just to see what they can offer. Because so far right now, going out of shotgun can help some. Throwing on first down can help some. But there's only so much you can do to get other folks involved without to still be able to hide that bad pass protection because it's bad. And that's why Kentucky, I mean, in SP Plus already right now, they've got the 7th ranked defense and efficiency, but 66 on offense. And you felt like going into this year, I wouldn't say the tables would be flipped, but you thought that this would be a team that won by outscoring teams. Instead, the defense has been carrying them because they're getting too far behind the chains on pre-snap penalties and sacks, tackles for loss, havoc stats allowed.
Yeah, absolutely. And that leads also Kentucky to being ranked 13th in the SEC in rushing offense at 109 yards per carry, 2.9 yards per rush, which offensively, you know, they're folks that had Kentucky 11-1, 10-2, and going to compete for the East. And I tried to make the argument, and I think Max did a good job of trying to make the argument as well. It is hard to win football games, and especially at Kentucky when depth at certain positions is not there. Look at the season in total. You start the year out 4 games without arguably the best running back in program history. During the time that he's out, arguably the most talented quarterback in program history gets injured. So that made things very difficult for that Kentucky offense. And then I don't know if it was a miscalculation or what, but not getting into the portal. And tackles are rare in the portal. I mean, it's not UK's fault totally because everybody wants tackles, right? Thought they had a chance with the kid from Vanderbilt. He goes to Alabama, et cetera. And then that leads to it makes it more difficult. Defensively, there were some more question marks on that defense because you lose some players. You lose some players to the NFL. The young players have stepped up. Those linebackers have taken over on the inside, all 4 of them. The edge linebackers are really, really good with Jordan Wright, J.J. Weaver, and that secondary has played much better than it did last year, and I think that's because the corners are much better. Carrington-Valentine probably didn't get enough credit for his play on Friday, but he battled, man. Dominic Lovett was Missouri's leading pass catcher by a mile. Didn't even get a catch in the game, and I think you can credit Keidron Smith. You can credit Carrington-Valentine, those safeties. Andrew Phillips played well. So the defense with Brad White, who's been there a while, the system's in place. You did get a new linebacker coach in Mike Stoops. Courtney Love is helping him there, but there's a lot of carryover from that defensive staff, and I think that's why you've seen the defense, who has been more relatively healthy at key positions than the offense, have a much better year. Ranked 3rd in the SEC, giving up 10.8 points per game. 2nd in the SEC in total defense. So statistically, Nick, Kentucky is the 2nd best defense in the Southeastern Conference, and I think that is a testament to player development, recruiting there. You bring in Deion Walker. He's done a tremendous job. Alex Afari, another freshman. Keaton Wade has played really well. So I think just the consistency and carryover of defensive leadership has helped this team be the second best defense in the SEC. You got turnover at coordinator on offense. You get those injuries to your two best players, and I think now that kind of paints the picture of why Kentucky is 6-3 going into Vanderbilt.
Man, and they did it all too with a lot of injuries to that defense. You missed Square for a game, but Jacquez Jones is going to miss at least a third of the season, if not more. Vito Tisdale, you thought he was going to be arguably the best havoc creator on this defense, just not there. Jalen Geiger, another experienced guy, missed essentially the entire season. So the Kentucky defense has been outstanding, and that's why the Cats can have an 8-4 season. They can play in Tampa in that Outback Bowl, or don't call me Outback Bowl. I'm still going to eat a blooming onion, Freddie, if we're going to Tampa. Okay. But it's the defense has been better, just as good as advertised in the preseason, better than I expected up until they started fall camp. So it's a young defense. It's been a little bit different than what I expected. We aren't getting as much havoc production as I would hope, but it's still, sans Tennessee, they've really buttoned up everybody. So ending the season on a high note, I think that they can also do that against Georgia. I know that they have seemingly 17 tight ends that can do all sorts of different things on God's green earth. But for the most part, that's probably going to be a low-scoring game next week at Kroger Field because Kentucky's defense is really, really good at limiting big plays. So, and that's a year after, they lost John Summerall. There's been some turnover over there, and yet they've still been super stout.
Yeah, absolutely, and the future bodes well for that defense. I mean, I think it's kind of built to stay, and as long as Brad White's in town, I think we can count on no matter who's playing over there. I mean, to a certain extent, you still got to recruit players, right? But I think as long as Brad White's there, you're going to get that year in, year out. Offense is where the question marks have been, where majority of the frustrations have been, along with special teams. And it's been tough for Kentucky to play complementary football, especially with Levis, Rodriguez, your two best offensive players, having a new and an interchanging offensive line. Nick, with the offensive line, where do you, if the portal is going to be an option at offensive line, who do you build around that's already on campus, and where do you go as far as portal, JUCO, or whatever, as far as obtaining offensive tackle or offensive line production? Where would you start?
It's best available. That's the name of the transfer portal game. But I think you do feel pretty good about your interior. Jagger Burton went through some growing pains this year, but he was probably asked to play a year too soon. You have a shot also to have Kenneth Horsey back next year. Ideally, you just get guys on the edge to where Horsey can move back to his natural position at guard and kind of get things back to normal a little bit. But the thing about the transfer portal that's tricky, Derek Rosenthal really left them in a pickle because there wasn't a whole lot of offensive tackles out there. Same thing, it's a problem U of L basketball ran into where they needed guards in the transfer portal where there wasn't a whole lot of good guards in the transfer portal. It kind of varies year by year. So it's you have to, I don't want it, the knowing the timing of when to go all in can be tough. But if you see a tackle out there you got to go all in right away and kind of show them a proof of concept because they need it. Even if Keontae Goodwin can develop seemingly overnight, like they still need tackles. They need tackles. They need tackles.
What about the quarterback position? That's going to be a hot topic after the season. So
that's going to be a fun one.
What are you hearing there?
Well, you look at all the guys that he coached, that Rich coached in that quarterback collective camp over the summer. DJU is one that gets people all fired up because he's been very average for an average offense at Clemson. The one that I'm intrigued by is Tyler Van Dyke at Miami because people really hate Mario Cristobal's offense. They just think it's convoluted too much. And Tyler Van Dyke, I mean, he's gotten worse. He really regressed this year, and has been benched at some points at Miami. So I could see him being a potential uh, portal ad. And then the hard part about this though, Freddie, is that a lot of these backups at other places, your Ty Simpsons and Milrose at Alabama, whether your Devin Brown and Shane McCord at Ohio State, where one of those guys is going to eventually enter the portal. A lot of them are going to want to at least fight it out during the spring. And I know Will Levis didn't have that luxury finishing up his career at Penn State. Um, but ideally, you're getting one of these guys in January, and you're not waiting around for a spring quarterback competition. So um, that's where this thing also gets a little bit dicey, and that's why the Mark Stoops gets paid a bunch of money to make decisions like that.
So you can, if we really look at this thing, Nick, so Saturday could be a good film game for recruiting quarterbacks. Kentucky needs one of those games. And also a good game to get Dane Key over, 25 catches for the season. Barryon Brown, 30. I'm sure they expected more. So I think that could be the focus on Saturday is to get some excitement with this offense going towards the end of the season and try to make Kentucky a valued landing spot for tackles, for a quarterback, running back. I mean, there's a bunch there because Kentucky just lost the commitment of another running back. Tell us about that, Nick.
Yeah, Khalifa Keith from Birmingham, Alabama. The Cats, they're going to need running backs because Chris Rodriguez, I don't expect Chris Rodriguez, Kavase Smoke, or Michael Drennan back next year. So that's three guys in that room you got to replace. Well, they had two guys in the recruiting class decide to look elsewhere within the last month. And I know Kentucky they've got their eyes on a couple of guys. There's a kid from Ohio and then another guy by the name of Wilcox that Kentucky's kind of fighting Clemson over. But it's nevertheless not ideal to be just losing guys just to lose them. I don't really know the reasons why. That's one thing that's been tough in all this is Kentucky's lack of recruiting buzz. We want to put some of the blame on Nil, but Nil isn't the end all be all. It can't be the end all be all. Some of it's the turnover where you lost a bunch of dudes on your coaching staff. But nevertheless, Kentucky, they could use some buzz right now. We got about 6 weeks to go until signing day. They could use a little bit of buzz, and right now things aren't trending in the right direction.
No, and that's something to keep your eyes on. Nick, I'll save my prediction for the pregame show. So as we dial this thing back in on UK's opponent on Saturday, who wins? Who's your MVP? And what's the narrative of this game that we talk about next Tuesday?
Nobody's going to be satisfied. Nobody's ever left a Kentucky-Vanderbilt game satisfied. That's just not how these things work. I think there was one game that Charles, he jumped on a Lynn boat and fumble, and they ended up blowing him out at Vandy back in, I want to say 19. Probably 8. Yeah, 19. Yeah, that sounds about right. Maybe 17. I don't know. But it's very rare that Kentucky and Vanderbilt play and Kentucky fans are leaving the stadium just feeling good about themselves because that's hard against a team like this. I'd like to see Kentucky go out there and get a season high in points. I'd like to see that happen. I'm worried with the cold that things are still going to be sloppy because that's what this team has been all year. They're a sloppy football team, but one that's ultimately going to win by 14 points. Let's call it 34-20, and Barryon Brown busts. He breaks free for a couple. That'll be the one kind of thing getting us excited is Brown busts a big play that gets folks up on their feet at Kroger Field.
And you're going to a big wedding Friday night. Are you going to wear your KLW belt?
Oh, of course I am. Look good, feel good, play good, pay good. I don't know the rest of it. I'm not as cool as Coach Prime, but I feel as good as Coach Prime when I'm wearing that KLW belt. If you haven't tried them out, KLWBelts.com. No padding, no backing, pure genuine leather. Use promo code DepthChart, you get 10% off. It's nice stuff there, Freddie. Nice
And
stuff.
and it ships pretty quick too, right?
And free.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
absolutely. I just picked up a KLW belt for my niece. I guess I can say it now because the wedding's over, as a wedding present that she gave her friend last week. So
Nice.
I'm getting a bunch of orders like that, especially with the holidays coming up. I know I'm getting
Oh, yeah.
myself. I'm placing an order for about 9 or 10 because that's going to be my Christmas. That's what I'm doing this year for Christmas for my family and friends. But hey, if you're watching this, surprise! But you're getting a KLW belt with your name on it, maybe a keychain. So who knows?
What's funny, Freddie, is I really did go. I was about like Ryan Lemon, where I went, from college on with the same belt for everything, and now I'm flushing belts, and I feel like a real adult now. Not just same one every time. That's all bent up all to hell because you're using the same one nonstop. So upgrade that wardrobe. KLWBelts.com.
Absolutely, and they're great people with great service. Nick, I'm going to Bowling Green on Friday. South Warren at Bowling Green. So I get a double bonus game. It is a playoff game, which is fun, and it's a arch rivalry game, which is even more fun. So it's a double bonus 5A matchup for the Kroger KSR Game of the Week in Bowling Green, where the Spartans will take on the Purples. Who you got?
I feel like, and I want to double check this, but I feel like the winner of this game is in the state championship pretty much every year. If I'm not,
it's a good chance.
So South Warren won it last year. Bowling Green won it the year before.
Yeah, so it features the back-to-back or the two teams that have won the 5A title in 2020, which was Bowling Green with Jordan Dingle. 2021, South Warren beat Frederick Douglass 38-26. Very good football team.
I'm going to going all the way back to 2011. It's either been Bowling Green, 4 teams have won it. Bowling Green, South Warren, Covcath, or Pulaski County. PCA got 1 in 14. But particularly in recent years, it's been this game that's decided it. But the Purples, Kevin Wallace ain't walking through that door. Neither is Jordan Dingle. Which, by the way, that guy's awesome.
Yeah, he's I called his state championship. I called all the games that year. I thought Jordan Dingle was by far the best player at Kroger Field in the 6 games, and he's come out to prove that. Nick, before we get out of here, I'm going to stick with high school football, and this will be the last thing we talk about. 1 through 6. We're in week 2 of the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Who's winning? 1A.
Let's work in reverse order.
Okay, let's go 6A.
Okay, yeah. Starting with 6A. I even though I would love, this is probably the best year for a surprise upset because Trinity's down. St. X is defending their title, but they kind of have to grind it out, right? Like they're not some sort of offensive powerhouse. Manuel's been solid. They're getting their quarterback back. Ballard's been good. Like the 6A is pretty wide open. But there's just something about I just feel like St. X, having done it most recently, will grind out a title there. I just got a feeling, Freddie, that it's going to end up being the Tigers repeating once again.
I agree there. I'm taking St. X in 6A. 5A, Douglas.
And it feels like this has to be the year for Douglas.
I think I've seen a lot of the teams this year in person or on tape. I think Douglas is the best team in Kentucky. They looked really, really good against Boyle County, really good against Scott County. The two times I saw them in person, they're loaded. 4A. Are you going Douglas too?
Yeah. I'm going. It needs to be Douglas.
Yeah, I think they're just. I think they're the best
needs to be
team.
their year.
Yeah, I think they'll roll through the playoffs. To be honest with you. 4A. This is where it gets a little tricky.
Yeah.
Boyle County is beat up. Quarterback got hurt. I don't know if he's back or not. Still, Bull County is Bull County. Corbin undefeated, ranked number 1 in the state. Franklin County still out there. Spencer County, yeah, I was just there. I mean, 4A is open. 4A is going to be competitive, and I don't think there is a definitive number 1 team, and that's largely due to some health things going on at Bull County. Who you got in 4A?
I don't want to sound chalky, but it feels like we might get some Justin Haddock's revenge this year. He previously coached at Corbin. They took a nice little dip when he left, but now might be the time to strike. Corbin, Redhounds, go get your revenge.
You're going Hounds. I'm going to go Bull County. Until somebody beats Haddock's in the playoffs. I know this is the most boring prediction because I've got St. X, Douglas, and Bull County, but I'm going to go Bull County. Let's go 3A, which is totally unpredictable. Cal has looked really good, and I know it's going to be hard for you to make that prediction.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not doing that.
I'm going Cal.
Let's go with the Bardstown Tigers.
There you go.
Yeah, give them hell, Bardstown. They're solid, and I can't pick Cal, especially the Youngs over there. John Young talks trash every time I see him. It's like, you all were you even playing football when I was there? Like, get over yourselves.
Normally, this is a spot we'd be talking about Belfry, but I saw Belfry earlier this season. Nick, they're starting, I think, 6 or 7 freshmen. So maybe not this year, but again, you're going to see them in the playoffs. 2A, I'm staying loyal. I'm going with my Fighting Mayfield Cardinals to take 2A out of the West.
Wow. I'm gonna go to the opposite end in the East, Pikeville. When they put that beating on LCA,
Pikeville's 1A.
Oh, whoops, my bad. I've got Pikeville in 1A.
Yeah, I think let's just go ahead and decide 1A's Pikeville. Who you got 2A?
Yeah. LCA, maybe they get healthy at the right time and make a nice little run. We'll go with the big name Bole, keeping things home in Lexington.
Yeah, well, it's been a fun season with the high school, and we're winding down here. That was a lot of fun going through her. So I got Pikeville, Mayfield, Cal, Bull County, Douglas, and
Pikeville.
St.
They're so good.
They're very good. I've seen them. We were there for a Kroger KSR game of the week. They're very good. Now Raceland, I think, will give Pikeville a little fight there when those two match up. But man, Chris McNamee has got that program rolling over there at Pikeville. And what could be, Nick, I'll be honest with you, if you include colleges, Pikeville's top 10 in the state as far as facilities go. Indoor practice facility, a stadium seated team room, weight room, locker room with lights and all the stuff. I mean, it's just amazing. And a wonderful Twitter account. If you're not following Pikeville football, you need to, because it's a lot of fun. Well, Nick, thank you, man. I know you got to go pick up Duke and go vote. I am also getting ready to go vote. And hope everybody out there, don't matter who you vote for, which side you're on, hope everybody gets out and votes, and folks are nice today. So, which I know won't be the case, but anyway, I had to get that out there. Nick Roush, thank you for joining me. Thank you, KLW Belts. Stephen, thank you, as always, for producing this video. And, you're not going to be with me on Friday, but, I'll get it done. Thanks to KLW Belts and Cats with a chance to score some points and make a statement here, especially offensively, not just for the players on the team this year, but for those that are looking for next year. Big, important game for Kentucky. Thank you, and see you later.